I love dessert, but I don't have it every day. So apple pie. That's a delicious dessert. What I do is I cook the apples, but only in a little bit of water, so when they're cooked there's not lots of juice. Put on a very low heat, and when they're cooked I sprinkle sultanas. I notice that you call them raisins, and then I put the lid on, and the heat from the apple just softens them. I bake my bottom crust half, then I put the hot apples in and put the top on and bake it. Delicious apple pie. No sweetening at all in that.
What do you have in the crust?
I'll give you the crust. It's 2 cups of flour, and I always use the spelt.
But half, or?
It can be 2 cups of wholemeal or 1 cup of white and 1 cup of wholemeal. Half a cup of olive oil and half a cup of water.
You take warm or cold water?
Oh, usually just tap water. Pinch of salt. And that's a delicious pastry. That pastry can be used for all sorts of things. So another nice dessert could be pumpkin pie. And what we do with the pumpkin pie is you cook the pumpkin with dates. And as the pumpkin becomes soft, the dates become soft. It's almost like a beautiful caramel flavour. And to make it creamy, we put coconut cream in. Might put a bit of coriander. Some people might put cinnamon. I put coriander in. What's also nice is grated lemon rind. And then what you want is something that'll give it a bit of firmness. So you blend all this up once your pumpkin and dates are cooked. So something to give it a bit of firmness might be arrowroot flour, or corn flour, or white spelt. Just put some white spelt in. That's a delicious pie. Use that for the pastry. And you've got your frozen cheesecakes. There's if you look at frozen vegan cheesecakes, there's lots. You get lots. Another nice one is carob balls.
That's kind of carob.
Yep, and that's with your carob balls. For your base, you would use some tahini, and you might use maple syrup or honey. And you might do a little coconut cream or coconut oil, and then ground nuts and carob powder. You might roll that in coconut and freeze them. It's great to have a whole lot of them in the freezer. And then the children can have one of those when they've eaten all their salad and all their vegetables. Yes?
What is the carob powder?
Carob powder.
It's carob.
I don't know what it is.
It's from the carob bean. Remember when we made our smoothie, we put carob powder in?
Carob powder, okay.
And remember when we made our chocolate, we put carob powder in? It's almost a bit like a cocoa type flavour, but it's not bitter. It's naturally sweet.
Thank you.
Barbara is also new.
Carrot chew, not chews, carrot, there's like
Chips.
no chili. It's a liquid kind of carrot.
Carob
Is it-
syrup.
It's just the same, so it's or they
Carob
put
s-
sugar in it.
Carob syrup is ground carob. They have to have these big stones and they grind it to a syrup.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
also okay.
Yeah, that's very nice.
And that's sweet. That's nice.
That's very sweet. That's true. Because carob is naturally sweet. You could also make a chocolate like the one we just made, but if it's made for people that don't have problems with sweet, then you can put a little maple syrup in it, put some dried fruit and dried nuts in it. So there's quite a bit that you can do. I do an apple strudel too. And how I do the apple strudel, I do the pastry and then I put it between two cling wraps and then I roll it, because when you do that you can get it paper thin. And then I take the top cling wrap off and I pile it with grated apple. And then I sprinkle a bit of maple syrup on it and then I pull the edge of the cling wrap up and it rolls. And then I keep rolling it and I have my pan there and I roll it into my pan, so I've got the most magnificent apple strudel. And as it bakes, the apple juice comes out, and as it cooks, you know, a bit of the oil comes out from the pastry and a bit of maple syrup runs out and you get this magnificent crust. It's very nice. So there's much you can do.
The pie, the strudel, do you do from half or just white?
Oh, either. What about muffins? It's very hard to get light, fluffy muffins. I don't usually do them. Banana cake. I do a banana cake. I do a banana cake when I've got bananas that... I do a banana cake when I've got yellow bananas with black dots all over them and no one's going to eat them. And when I do that, I do maybe 6 bananas. I also do things that my husband loves, and he loves apple pie, apple strudel and banana cake. So they're basically the 3 that I make. If we've got a lot of pumpkins, I might do a pumpkin pie, especially if the grandchildren are there. So for 6 bananas, then I do 1/3 cup of coconut oil, and you melt that, and maybe 1/3 cup of olive oil. This sounds like a lot of oil, but 10 people might eat the cake. So, yeah. And then the sweetening, you might put 1 dessert spoon of sweetener. So I might put palm sugar in, or I might put maple syrup. That's usually the 2 I put in. And then with that, maybe 1/2 cup of white spelt flour and 1/2 cup of wholemeal spelt. And then I'll put some walnuts, fold walnuts through, and sultanas, you call them raisins. Now, if you wanted to do it gluten-free, you would do maybe some sorghum, maybe some almond flour, maybe a little bit of rice flour. And you can Google flours that you can make gluten-free. And then I put a raising agent in. I find that if you don't put a raising agent in, it's very heavy. So the raising agent I often use is baking powder. I might make a banana cake once a month, so we don't eat it very much. And that makes a delicious cake. So when my children had a birthday, I would usually do a waffle cake. So let's make a recipe for waffles. And you definitely need a waffle line for this. And if you make this recipe into a pancake, it's not very nice. Because with the waffle cake, you've got two hot surfaces touching the batter, and that's what causes it to rise. So the waffles we make are 1 cup of soaked chickpeas, 1 cup of millet. This is raw millet, and it's hulled, raw hulled millet. And 2.5 cups of water. And a little salt. And you blend that very well. What we do is we blend it the night before, and then in the morning when we're making the waffles, we blend it again because the sediment settles to the bottom. And those waffles are delicious and they're light because most people make waffles with oats. But we don't serve oats at our health centre. Yes?
How much is 1 cup? Because we use deciliter measurement.
It's a 250 ml, yeah, so do we.
And you make this into a cake. How do you do that?
How do I make that into a cake? I put a waffle down, I put a fruit jam, I put a pear cream, I'll give you the recipe for the pear cream, and then I slice strawberries and kiwi fruit, then I put another waffle on. I do the same thing, and then I put another waffle on. And maybe 4 waffles high, and at the top you let the jam drip down and the pear cream, and then you put it in the fridge for a few hours and it sets. If you make it and then serve it, the waffles go like that. And then you cut these magnificent slabs, and it's all sugar-free and it's delicious. So what's the pear cream? This pear cream is a delicious cream, and you can use it on all desserts. And it's 1 cup of Brazil nuts, or you might use cashews. So it's 1 cup of nut and 1 tin of pears with juice. So we get the pears in natural juice. You buy tinned pears here?
Yeah, it's only with sugar, I think.
Really? Oh, in Australia nearly all pears are made in natural juice. Well, the only other thing you could do is buy the pears and cook them yourself. You use raw pears and it goes brown. It starts to deteriorate. So what you're looking at probably is, I think our tins come 500 ml. You blend very well and you get this beautiful white cream that's slightly sweet because of the pears. And if you want to make it a little stiffer, put a bit of coconut cream in and put it in the fridge and it'll go a little stiffer. Oh, and you put vanilla essence. I guess because Australia grows a lot of fruit, I don't know. But in every supermarket you can buy tinned pears in natural juice.
How do you make it the jam?
So how you can make the jam, see if you had blueberries, your wild blueberries, you heat them up, and when they're just heated up, you know, in a little water, then you thicken it with arrowroot. And depending on if they're sweet or not, you could put a little maple syrup or a little honey in. And I guess that's like a berry sauce then, isn't it? So you could use a berry sauce. But how I used to make jam when the children were little, you can buy big bottles of black currant and apple juice with no added sugar. And then I'd buy dried black currants. And I'd put the apple and black currant juice in a saucepan. I'd put a whole packet of dried currants in, and I'd bring it to the boil and add a bit of arrowroot. That was the jam I used to make the children. And put that into jars. They're not jams like your sugar jams, they're going to last forever.
You mentioned muffins, but you didn't tell how you did.
No, because I actually never make them. But you know, the banana cake recipe, it could be similar to that. Notice with the banana cake recipe there was no milk or no water in it, because I find that makes a heavy cake. But if you just do bananas and the oils, it's a much lighter cake.